Alright guys, Scrappy again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Major questions as to whether serious changes are needed to the CDL going forward in order to make this a better space. Over the last few weeks we have seen especially the Bush Gaming guys coming into competitive Call of Duty and giving their outsiders initially perspective on what this scene is like, and the good and certainly the bad as well. As a result, loads of new fans are coming in and they're seeing the state of competitive Call of Duty right now, and while yes, it's highly entertaining, there are certainly things that probably need seriously addressing in the very near future. There's a lot of talk about delays on the challenger side, but also the format in general, the number of maps that are played, and the disadvantage sometimes it feels like for the winners bracket team. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Starting with a couple of stats. This is pretty crazy, and look, it is very early days here in Black Ops 7 so far. You guys may remember that last year Sib started out the first stage with like a 0.7. He was getting absolutely cooked. That then changed. Sib ended the year with not a 0.7, it was I think over a 1, but it wasn't exactly a spectacular year for Sib last season. He looks better this year on Gentamates, that should be no surprise. He's playing for a far better team than he was last year on Cloud9. However, HyDra, another superstar level player for sure, really the superstar in some respects of the CDL over the last couple of years, has had an unbelievable performance in an SMG category over the last few titles. His numbers are actually outrageous to me. His KD in his first year competing was a 1.12 in Cold War. Kind of goes under the radar a little bit that season. Second, I'm assuming only to Simp. In Vanguard, he had a 1.08, also second. Then, the next couple of titles, that was when he just took over really. Modern Warfare 2, he had a 1.17 KD, which for an SMG is absolutely outrageous. Modern Warfare 3, he had a 1.13, was still very good at that game. Black Ops 6, he also had the number 1 KD in the league. So every year that he's been competing, he's had either the best or the second best KD for all SMGs in the entire league. Now, this year so far, it ain't looking great. I think he's actually negative so far this season. But I will say that in previous years, he's also not started out the hottest. He has had slower starts in recent seasons too, but then he seems to really turn it on, Major 2, 3, 4, etc. towards the middle, towards the end of the year. But of course, it also depends on the team dynamic and the team environment. It does feel like HyDra's struggling just a little bit to find his comfort zone, how he should play on this game, because there's no doubt that with no Ghosty, there is more of a requirement for HyDra to at least do some work in the hill, right? Like, one of the reasons why HyDra has these KDs, not because he isn't incredibly talented, but because he is, absolutely, but his talent is best used playing for kills, basically. This guy is the best player in the game at getting kills, in my opinion, and that has led to World Championship success in Modern Warfare 2, multiple championships last year and over the last couple of years as well, but that does require other things from your teammates, and when you put Scrap and HyDra together, you know, there is an argument that you need players like Ghosty and Envoy to make that work. This year they don't have Ghosty and Envoy because they got rid of them. You can understand why the necessity to make a change, but it is interesting to see if that still works for HyDra. You know, is he going to be able to run around and get 35 seconds every hardpoint map, which of course is nothing really compared to what the other SMGs are averaging? It's like if you look at HyDra's stats, his stats are basically highest KD, lowest objective work. And that works for him, but it only works if the team is conducive with that. And maybe this year with the teammates they have, there might need to be some change there. So I think that HyDra's going to take a little bit of time to get comfortable. But I wouldn't be surprised if he still ends the season with the highest KD for all SMGs, if Thieves can put it together and figure it out. But as we know, that is easier said than done with the multiple changes they've made. This, speaking of other superstars, is Mercules. He's played half a season. He's made $400,000 in prize earnings. Of course, like a cut of that will go to OpTic, a cut of that will go to the taxman, etc., etc. But still, he's not that bad, is he? So he's played 4 events only. His average placing is 2.25. Look, these are Simp level numbers. I think it is just worth keeping in mind that Mercules' career so far, it's the closest thing we've ever had since Simp came around. If anything, in some respects, it's probably better than Simp's start, just in terms of some of the percentages. Even then, it's still equivalent, which I don't think we ever thought that we would see again. Series win-loss, he's 19-6. He's made 2 finals, a champs in the World Cup, won both of them, won champs already. It's, yeah, pretty wild. So we'll see if this year he can keep it up. But as we know, so far in the CDL, he's actually been a really important reason why OpTic have started out the year undefeated. So let's talk about some of the changes that might need to be made. Some talk on BO7 in general. We know the game hasn't sold very well. The reasoning for Activision for that, or for Microsoft, whoever really is running the show now, they believe, it seems, that we did Black Ops 6 last year, we did Black Ops 7 this year. It's never going to go ideally, is it really, in terms of sales? I think it's also worth noting now, given Microsoft, there's the Xbox Game Pass or whatever, right? So that changes the dynamic in terms of how the sales tend to work. There might be a little bit of that going on as well. But Octane was, you know, somewhat frustrated, I guess, because the game's actually pretty good, but it's not necessarily going to get that recognition from the people who really make the decisions. BO7 says, or Dashy says on BO7, everyone's just miserable. People make it seem like it's the worst thing that's ever graced the game, but, you know, people are just crying. They need their tears to be heard. Dashy's pretty happy about this game. Not sure there's too much optimism from some of the players around what next year's title is going to look like, but, you know, BO7 can not just mean Black Ops 7, it could also mean Best of 7. And there was quite a lot of talk over the last few days about problems in the overall format and what changes we might look to make going forward. I think what's especially interesting about this is that I think many of us in the COD scene who've followed this for many years, the players, the personalities, the streamers, we know a lot of these things are true. We've made these points many a time. But it's interesting to have new people come into the scene, new prominent people come into the scene at that, and make their thoughts very clear indeed. That is very much true for the Bush Gaming guys. We know that Bush, they sold TJ to Surge. It's not yet been confirmed as a recording that that's actually happening, but they sold him for 2K. TJ falls off the map, maybe not a 2K buyout worthwhile for that, maybe that's why Surge were trying to negotiate a discount, but we know that the Bush boys, they held firm, Austin and the guys over there, they held firm in the conversations. They put together a phenomenal video that we talked about, and it's available on the Telluride Bush Gaming YouTube channel as well, recapping their run to the championship of the 3rd cup of the season. But these guys are very new to competitive Call of Duty, right? Like, they appreciate the excitement, the drama, and the personalities in the scene, as well do we. And it's been fantastic to see new people getting involved as a result of these guys coming in and showing what competitive COD is all about. But it is still, in some respects, COD very grassroots, right? Like, yeah, it's maybe not as grassroots as it used to be when it comes to the way that the CDL controls things, but let's just say it's not especially professionally run, certainly at the Challengers level, and even arguably at the CDL level as well. So there's been lots of frustration from these boys on effectively getting iced and delays in the Challengers Cups, which makes sense. They're sitting down trying to watch party these matches. They're seeing their team win and have to wait 3-4 hours for their next game because the winner of the matchup that they're going to play, that matchup hasn't happened yet because, you know, I don't know even what's going on, but those guys are playing a LAN event, they're doing something else, they're delaying the game so they can play a tournament, you know, all sorts of clownery. And understandably, that's frustrating these guys. In addition to major talk about the actual finale of the tournaments, when it comes to winners finals, when it comes to grand finals, how do you decide those series? Are they going to be best of 7s, which they have been again in Challengers and in the Pro League? But these are best of 7s with no advantage to the winners bracket team.
Swing lipo whip. Still doing a free week of COD? I have no idea. I know they put the game on sale. I don't know if they're doing a free week of it or not. The numbers must be absolutely awful, bro. I'm kind of bummed because this game is genuinely good as fuck, but it just didn't sell well. Which, unfortunately, I think they're going to, like, correlate the two. And they're going to go back to, like, this shitty-ass fucking COD, like, recipe that we've had for the last couple of seasons because of that. Which I really hope isn't the case, but I think it end up will be. Like, this is the bet, like, actually one of the best CODs in so long, and it just won't matter. And we're going to go back to that shitty-ass fucking Milsim, MW, IW fucking terrorism shit. Yeah, I saw it, Mark. Putting fucking visual recoil back in the game.
You know what? I brought you into this world. I'll take you out of it. The fuck up. You don't want these paws. You don't want these paws, pal.
One's by bomb already.
Oh, this guy sucks dick, dude. This guy's
That's
awful.
on me. I just died. This is literally on the most god heady. I don't know why I should just stay down.
This guy is horrendous. No wonder they only wanted to pay 1K. I wouldn't purchase that for more than one.
What'll be? I'm gonna need bomb
acquired.
I'm on B.
I'm working the relay. Hey, one shot.
Oh no, he's gonna see it now. He's gonna roast me.
It looked like he ran through, but he could have went back there. So.
At this point, we have a 3-hour break.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like something's got to change because the first cup we went through this as well. You know, where we're hot, we're frying, then boom, all of a sudden we have a 3-4 hour delay. Hey, dude, if you're in winners finals, best of 7, you should already start up 1-0. Like that's how it should be. Or do 2 best of 5s. You know what I mean? Figure out something because there's no advantage to the winner in winners finals. Besides what? What do they do? Veto maps? I don't know. I feel like that's not a big enough advantage.
So Ben J as always gives his perspective. He says, biggest problem in my opinion right now is how the competition is paced, not enforcing lobbies to queue before start time, letting players mega time torch in between series. It'll be better during the elites, but the cups have been brutal to watch at times. So things also changed. They used to have, as we know, game battles, Major League Gaming game battles. The, let's say, admins over there generally knew what they were doing. They'd played, they'd watched competitive Call of Duty for a long time. Over the last couple of years, that changed. MLG Game Battles was unfortunately shut down. Rest in peace. We moved over to FaceIt. Lots of the FaceIt admins not especially familiar with Call of Duty, and certainly in the first year was an absolute nightmare. Definitely getting better, but still the enforcement of some of these problems is not exactly going away as an issue. The other main question, though, which I think it was great for these guys to just straight up address it as well, because I think sometimes we feel like we're beating a dead horse here, those of us who have been around some time. But to see people who are very new to this and are kind of learning all about it for the first time, and they're like, well, hang on a second, how come we've not lost a series yet? We get to the grand finals, and we effectively have no advantage in that grand final. We know the same issue is there in the Pro League as well. Look, back in the day, they used to do 2 best of 5s. Now, I think Enigma makes a fair point here when it comes to 2 best of 5s were unpredictable for the broadcast. Sometimes they ended in a hot 3-0 and you got a very underwhelming grand finals. They were, in some respects, very fair because the team from winners had not yet lost a series. So in order for them to lose, it is plausible that they would have to lose 2 different series. But often it would lead to mostly underwhelming finals because winning 2 best of 5s, certainly having come from losers, is very challenging. It's been done. OpTic did it to win the World Championship famously in 2017 and other tournaments that they won, other teams won as well in 2 best of 5s. But I think like 85% of the time, if not more, the team from winners would win the 2 best of 5s, or at least after the 2 best of 5s, because the team from losers was really tired and they were the worst team anyway, typically because they were coming from losers. Winning was a huge challenge, and sometimes the final would be super underwhelming, sometimes it would go all the way, but again, it was unpredictable, and you know, it's a problem for a broadcast. It's nice to have a series that you roughly know how long it's going to be, and you roughly know how long a best of 7 is going to be. That's why we do that nowadays, but also because the argument from the league was, oh, 2 best of 5s is, it's too difficult to understand for the fans or something, so we're going to make it a best of 7 or a best of 9 or something like that. But where they tried those things, and then they were giving 1-0 advantages. Famously in the Modern Warfare 19 World Championship match between Dallas Empire and Atlanta FaZe, it was a 1-0 advantage from the Empire because they'd come from the winner's side. They'd not lost yet. So they had a best of 9, but with a 1-0 advantage, which actually gave us a very good series, because it meant that you didn't have 4 search and destroys in the best of 9. You only had 3 searches. It was 3 hardpoints, 2 dominations as it was back then, and then 3 search and destroys. That makes 8 maps because one team had a 1-0 advantage. So look, I'm still in favour of bringing back a 1-0 advantage, and I think it's nice that these guys, I mean, it's obvious, but it's nice that they're picking up on it and saying, hang on a second, this doesn't really make any sense, that the team from winners gets no advantage apart from vetoes, which as we know isn't really much anyway. So the CDL might need to think about this, because it's just something that in the pro matches over the last couple of years, we've kind of just got used to it, right? we were frustrated initially, but now it's just like, well, it is what it is. We've got best of 7 finals in these tournaments, and yet the team from winners gets basically no advantage at all. But because it's been talked about for so long and the CDL haven't done anything about it, then we don't really talk about it much anymore. It's nice to see that the question there is still being raised, and whether the CDL wants to do anything about it, time will only tell. So very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.